So it's that time of the week again. It's you hangout time, and today I'm joined by Soren and Peter. How are you both doing?
Hey, hi, we're great.
Doing great. Thank you.
Good, good. Obviously a few tech issues, but we managed to get there in the end.
Yeah.
As always, we kind of do some kind of brief introductions on kind of how you got involved with Umbraco. So let's say you, Soren. How did you get involved in the world of Umbraco?
Well, we've both been coding and tinkering a lot for years.
Okay.
For me, the journey with Umbraco started about 1.5 years ago.
Okay, so relatively new.
I'm sorry?
Relatively new then.
Yeah, I started when I got hired in as a student developer here at Novacell.
Okay.
We're based out of Aarhus in Denmark. Novacell has been making a lot of Umbraco projects. There's over 150 right now. And I've been working primarily on large-scale e-commerce solutions, such as a design and clothes shop using e-commerce.
Yep.
And Scandinavia's biggest electronic retailer one of them called Power, where we built a completely custom e-commerce solution on top of Umbraco.
Okay, so that was what you demoed at this year's Code Garden.
Yeah, we had a speech talk over there at Code Garden on Power.
Mhm.
I think it's available on the Umbraco video archive right now.
And yourself, Peter? Near enough the same kind of background with Umbraco?
Yeah.
Or maybe a little bit longer?
No, actually don't. It's not longer. It's almost the same story.
Okay, so was you both hired from university or school near enough at the same time then?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Peter won a competition they had, so he got a job interview, and then they needed more people, so I got hired after that.
Awesome.
So he's been here a few
I
more
referred
months
him.
than me. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about a package that you guys built, Footprint.
Footprint,
Yeah,
It was
so-
our school project.
Yeah, we were finishing our computer science degree.
Okay.
We decided that this was the subject that we wanted to write our thesis on, included with the source that we wrote for the whole package. Because Novacell had the issues that more and more clients are asking as content, and for the last 10 years it's been custom solutions every time. There are other packages out there like Spin Doctor, but a lot of them didn't really cater to the content editors. While they're easy to use for developers, the content editors really didn't understand it and were afraid of the rocket sciencey thing.
Yeah, it's bit techy.
Yeah, a bit techy. So we wanted to bring it down to a level where everyone could use it and understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Footprint started.
Okay, so it's interesting that you guys decided to do it as kind of your computer science degree project. Why this? Why this topic?
Well, we had a few ideas bouncing around, and then we spoke to Adam, and he told us about this. The clients kept asking more and more about it. Yep. So, and then we did some brainstorming on it, and we figured out that it would be a nice subject, and there would be a lot of advanced tech we could use, and yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So maybe we can just kind of summarize what Footprint does for people who's unaware.
Yeah. Footprint is a plugin for Umbraco that allows websites to deliver personalized content or run business logic based on segments that you built in the plugin.
So an example, I suppose, a very basic one normally is like time of day, like showcase different content to the user if it's morning versus if it's the evening. I'm sure there's loads of different advanced cases, but obviously that's the most basic.
Yeah. Right now we don't have support for like real time
we don't have that case.
Sorry. Everything but that case.
From Andy Butland, but we use case could be you want to serve different content to your mobile visitors, or you want to serve different content to visitors from a specific region, or that has done specific things on your site. So you really want to market information better to them.
Okay. So I presume, was this used in power.dk's?
It's not used in Power, no. It was a bit that big of a solution. We needed it field tested first.
Okay.
So we implemented it on a Danish amusement park,
Okay. So I
Part-
presume in terms of once someone's bought a ticket, then maybe they get shown a different piece of content or
Yeah,
something
when you
like that.
buy a ticket, or we can show information based on when you're going, or we can deliver information about your season card, and etc. So
Excellent. Awesome. So now that we kind of briefly know what Footprint is, maybe it's worth just jumping straight over into kind of a demo, and let's
Yeah.
take a look at in terms of how it works.
well, yeah. So we have this. Oh, I have to enable screen sharing.
That's a
Yeah. You have to visualize what it looks like.
Is it coming through?
Yep. No, it's fine.
Right. Yeah, we have this. That's great. We have this demo site here, Novazell.io. It's not live yet, but we're. This is where we'll deliver information for the Umbraco footprint package. Seems like we're there we go. So we have this whole footprint section here, where all the magic happens.
Okay.
Basically, we have two parts for the registration. We have the footprinting, which is real-time browser details and user details, like the query string you're coming in with, the browser, whether you're mobile or not, where you're from, etc., etc. And then we have the behavioral tracking, where you can customize your tracking, like adding hooks up for shopping systems like WooCommerce or Michello, and so you can pretty much register anything you want in the custom section under behavioral targeting. But the footprint is already inbuilt, where we allow you to segment based on the query string, for example.
So these ones that you're showing here, these are kind of all out of the box.
Yeah. These ones are out of the box here. This allows you to segment for Facebook campaigns, newsletter campaigns, links you click in, refers. You can do a lot of the basic stuff from here, really, just with the package installed as this is. So here in the back office, we have the properties we register. The package is set up so that you can register anything you want, but in order to use it for segmentation, you have to register it in here as a property. Let's look at this one, for example. You give an alias you register under, type, and then you give some information for the content writers so that they know what it's all about. No magic happens here, but this is then registered in the in our MongoDB right now.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing that you just bring up there casually. I was just in MongoDB. Why the requirement on Mongo?
Well, we needed a big bucket of information. We had so much arbitrary data that we could put in. We needed a structure that could hold it and do it efficiently, and allowed us to query on it fast in real time to figure out whether a user was fitting in a segment or not.
Okay.
So we chose Mongo over traditional SQL.
Yep.
Because for our use case, it would fit better.
So is it a requirement to have Mongo?
Right now in the beta, it is a requirement to have Mongo, but the footprinting details, the ones that we see here, all prefixed by NCBT, the footprint details, we will eventually get out of the MongoDB and into the real-time data again, so that you can install the package and use these, and then just out of the box. But if you require extra tracking for like e-commerce systems, CRM, or anything like that, you need to install MongoDB on top of it.
Okay, I think that's probably a good idea because obviously there's kind of a big. Have you moved your mic again?
I think your microphone is.
I don't know if it.
Your microphone did a bit of body goodness.
Am I going robot voice?
Whoa, what's happening? We have some sound issues.
You're not coming through. Better, much better.
Yeah.
Much better.
That's better.
Okay, turn it off and on again as always. What I was saying was in regards to the MongoDB requirement. I think it's wise maybe moving forward that some of this kind of out-of-the-box stuff could potentially just be used with SQL, just because learning Mongo is obviously another hurdle for people that's So how do I set up a MongoDB and things like that? That's kind of a relatively big hurdle, but for someone maybe semi more advanced that's going to add more custom stuff into Footprint to track, then setting up a MongoDB is probably not going to be much of a big deal.
Right now, the development version we have here is using a cloud MongoDB. You don't really need to query it manually. You only need to set it up for now.
Okay, so you could go and use a cloud-hosted MongoDB provider.
Yeah. And then the package will do everything that's needed to integrate it.
Okay. Awesome.
You only need to, of course, specify.
Specify the login details.
Yeah, like the connection string.
Yeah. We've built it so that it should be able to. It'd be possible to extend it down the line for more providers.
Fantastic. Okay, sorry to take you off track, but it was only because you just mentioned the MongoDB word.
Yeah, but actually these properties you get them on every request, so actually you wouldn't have to save them.
These here, the footprint details, you don't really need to save per se because they are per request. So we can move these out of the Mongo relatively easily without storing them elsewhere.
Okay.
But we don't do that right now.
Yeah, we didn't do that right now. So once you've registered for your properties here, you can start building segments. For example, we can have a segment here called desktop visitors.
Yep.
And then we can say, okay, we need them to not be on a mobile device, on a desktop, and we'd like them to have a browser that is some version of Chrome here. Now we can see that we have 3 visitors.
Maybe the segment should have been called Chrome users.
We can just remove that, and then we have.
So as you're adding criteria or changing the criteria, we can see a rough estimation on how many percentage or how much of our traffic so far is going to affect that segment.
Yeah. We do real time querying of the database here, so that when you change something, we will query it to see how many will actually hit this segment, so that you can see if you're making some crazy rocket science segment that will hit nobody.
Yeah, or one person.
Everybody.
Yep.
So we build this that here we'll list all the properties you have registered in there.
Okay. Yep.
And as you saw in there, we could type in description and examples so that we can help content editors to see and visualize what are they actually manipulating here.
Yeah, that's very nice.
We can do regexes if you're all into that stuff. We can check for contain, start with for strings, for example, and we have other Boolean operators. We have numbers somewhere.
Okay, so the quick one that you just shown
previously
was is a mobile device.
Yeah. That's a Boolean, so it's true or false. But we have multiple data types that will change the layout here, so that most of the times you can actually read the line. It's like
so if you go back to visited page, that was an interesting one because obviously it looks like you could select a piece of content node or something.
Visited page here. Yeah, then you can select content here. The UI for it is isn't really polished right now. But it allows you to check whether the user will
visit the about page.
The about page, yeah. Then there's things like when you come in through a referral link. For example, you have a Facebook campaign running, where your visitors will either come from Facebook or they will come with a URL with a query string containing Facebook in it.
Yep.
Like the link you generate for like the Google campaigns. This only persists for a single view, really. So we decided to implement persistence going here. You can either choose to persist it never, permanent, or a specific amount of days. So this means that if your user will hit this segment now, it will persist for 20 days, and then for 20 days we will not check again, but we'll just say the visitor is in this segment still.
Okay.
It allows you to persist them for over multiple sessions, even if...
so how are you tracking that user if they then come back again without from facebook.com? How do you know that user was that user previously?
We set a cookie on the device right now. We set a cookie on the device with a visitor ID that we use to look up into their data source.
Okay.
And we've also made cross-device tracking possible by allowing developers to set the ID of a user, so you can bind it to whatever system you have, like your own login system.
I was going to say if I had some membership, I could know that this is member FUBAR or whatever.
Yeah, so you can pretty much pass in everything and do whatever you like there, such as social logins for Facebook or Google Plus, or you can, in your newsletters, you can embed something into the links that allow you to re-identify your users on multiple devices. So you'll know that this phone is the same user as that desktop.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's segments.
Yeah. So once we've made the segments,
then you want to transform your content.
Yeah. Then you'll head to the content section.
Okay.
You'll want to personalize the content for the actual segments we're in. So let's say the footprint package here. Here we see the typical the segmented property editor. Much like Vorst, where we wrap it in tabs.
Okay, that's really, really nice. So you're just wrapping the default property editor. I presume it's going to support any custom property editor as well. So if I've created some custom one, cool.
We've made it so that it wraps other property editors. So if we go in here and look, for example, that one here, we chose the property editor footprint content. And then it allows us to mimic another type. So depending on which one we select, it'll load. It'll ask Umbraco what the pre-values should be defined as here. So we'll actually use the same files and settings for the original editor. So you can wrap any editor in here. Yeah.
Okay, that's really, really nice.
Yeah, even the grid.
Ooh, even the grid.
So let's say, for example, we have the header here. Right now it's called Footprint for Umbraco, this page here. So let's say that if our users come in from Facebook, we will let them know that, hey, Facebook uses this as well, something like it. So let's add the Facebook fan segment. That was the one that triggered on when they came in.
Yep.
We've now get a new tab. The new tab will by default have the content of the default segment, because sometimes you'll want to build on top of it, or otherwise you just delete it.
That makes sense.
So let's say we want to change this to Footprint for Umbraco, just like Facebook does it. Let's just save that. So then when we go on the page here, we'll see that, we're pretty much in the default segment because we haven't visited from Facebook right now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Not it. Yeah, the read would get it. There we go. So here we have prepared a link. We generated this from the Google campaign generator.
Yep.
So we have the source set to Facebook, median, campaign, whatever. All this will be this will be available to us in the query string property.
Okay.
So let's go back here and let's visit this one. There we go. There we go. So now we visited the page, and we can see here we have the here we have our query string still.
Yep.
But when we navigate on, we will lose it. So we want to save this one. We want to save the user.
Yep, and persist it right now.
Persist it. So in here, in the printed area here, we picked to persist it for 20 days, and we wanted to check for the UTM source here. So we can see now there's one visitor in it. So somebody hit it. That must be us.
Cool.
So now when we move on, we will be in the
just one thing to point out, I noticed that the content hasn't actually changed to what we put in the content. Or am I totally missing that?
This is another page.
Ah.
So this is the front page. Then let's go to the page that we changed. Now we'll see that now we have the new title.
Ah, there it is.
Okay.
Awesome. Neat. That's really, really slick. And I like that the property editors in the back office, you can select the segment on a per property. So if I'm adding Facebook fans segment, I haven't got to add it to the page header subtitle and this other property and this other property, and none of them are ever going to change. I can only do it for the ones what I'm going to change.
You just pick whatever you want to segment it based on. And if, let's say that we also have desktop visitors here.
Yep.
Let's just go something like that. Let's see if that'll hit us then. See, we're on a desktop now, but what happens now? We're in both the desktop segment and the Facebook segment.
Okay, so yeah, which one wins then?
Which one wins? The one that wins will be the first one defined here. So we set the priority over here. We can say,
okay,
desktop visitor is the most important one. Then Facebook. So if we move this around like this,
yep,
save it, then the tabs will change.
Okay, so now if you went back and refreshed that page, we're going to see the Facebook message.
Facebook again.
Brilliant.
So first come, first serve here. The first tab is the first served one if the user's in that segment, and then we just keep on going
until eventually you fall through to the default. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, this is very, very polished so far.
So far, yeah.
That come out bad. So what other things can we use Footprint for?
Well, we have done a tiny bit of work on actions, which we thought of as marketing automation.
Okay.
That you can go in here and set. It's very basic right now. You can set that.
So the other action type was test and send email.
Yeah. This is not polished.
Work in progress.
When a user is in the Facebook segment, we have a property. We don't actually have the property, but let's just say this is the email property. We want to send them an email containing whatever you render in some node. So we can send an email to users when they hit the Facebook segment. That's probably not good, but if you were sending out emails from like Shopflow or something, that could be used to automate it.
Okay. Yep.
And it's built so that in the future, we would really like to have more actions here. Like you could ping endpoints, APIs, call APIs. You could run code from your library or whatever. So you could do pretty much hook it up to anything you want.
Okay. So once a segment's been hit, an action will apply basically.
Yeah. Right now, I think they're ran every 10 minutes or so.
Okay, so they're on a scheduled basis as opposed to on demand when that segment's been hit.
Yeah, because we need to query a lot of users in it. So.
Yep. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So.
If you no, sorry.
No, go on, Peter. What was you gonna say?
Yeah, maybe we should show how the developers would make this ready.
Yeah, I was going to say, so now we started the conversation early on about I've got some custom requirement. I want to create, I suppose, a custom property in that list. I want to match against some, I don't know, strange business logic or whatever. How would I go about adding one?
Yeah. So we have both a... Let's open this one. I think this one is better to show. We have both an API in .NET for it. And we have a JavaScript API. I know they're named the same thing. So you go like current visitor. Then we have set property. And here you set a key.
Yep.
So let's say we want hangout. And we want this set to true because we're in hangout right now.
Yep.
My IntelliSense is messing a bit. But yeah, so here we register a property. You can register any properties really.
So will that automatically show up in the list? Because you've added it in code, so now when the page will render, it will get populated in that list?
Oh, your mic is...
yeah, mic is acting up.
Ah, damn.
When we register it here, it will be saved in the data source under the user. So the user will get a property called hangout, and the value will be true. You will not be able to use it in the segmentation engine yet, because we haven't added it as a property. But in order to add that, we would make a property in here called hangout. And the alias for it is hangout with small h, because that's what we wrote in here.
Okay.
And then you hit create, save here. Then you can decide what type it is. It's a string or an int or boolean. It's a boolean here.
Yep.
And then we'll just have a description. We'll have an example. I'm not going to write that right now. And then from here on, you can, in your segments, in the segment builder here, you can add a criteria for view hangout is true.
Cool.
So this allows that the developers can really hook into to the whole thing, and they can register a lot of things even before that you want a segment on it.
Yeah. No.
So
So what other kind of methods are available on the current visitor object then?
we have is-in segment, which is a test for in your code to see if a user is in a given segment. There you give the segment alias you defined in the back office.
Okay. So I presume I can just, I don't know, show a different partial or
Show or hide a button or something.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
this you could check. This is from the demo we did at the code garden.
Mhm.
We check if the user was in a segment we defined there called Umbracians, and if they were in Umbracians, we would inject a partial in above the homepage.
Yep.
So here we can run custom logic based on it, whether user is in a segment or not. And then we have the set property. Set footprints is called internally, and then we have the set visitor ID, which we use to re-identify the user. So if you have a visitor ID, you can say this visitor is ID something.
Yep.
And then you will set the cookie for that user, and you can use the same data you had on them before.
Okay, nice. So you mentioned obviously that was the kind of the C# object, and then in JavaScript we can access some of these properties.
In JavaScript, you can access some of them. Yeah, you can access set property and is-in segment right now, I believe.
Yeah.
And we will possibly make a get property as well, so you can actually figure out what's in the database right now. But
So you could get a name or something and print
yes, so you can get some names or any data you saved in there. But we're not really fans of adding it to the JavaScript API because that could allow users to change stuff themselves. But yeah, we'll figure that out in time.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what would be the use case of using the JavaScript API? Just because you want to do some more client-side stuff, I suppose?
Well, if your website is built on Angular,
Okay.
you
Yep.
do a lot more in the front end, and then you either have the choice to use the endpoints directly, or you could wrap it in your own API if you want to make it more secure.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess some do websites where you have an Umbraco backend and then you have a whole separate front end.
Yeah. No. No. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the case there.
Okay.
Yeah. So whenever when we picked, we had a property in here. In order to render it, we made an extension method for the I publish content, much like Umbraco's get property value. We made one called get segmented value.
Okay. So you just got an extension method on iPublish content.
So instead of get property value, you will call get segmented value. We have the same override for it, and then we check if the property actually is segmented. So if it isn't, it'll just pass it on to get property value from Umbraco. So you wouldn't really break anything by using this get segmented value too much if you haven't.
Okay. So you could just do near enough a find and replace for get property value with get segmented value.
Yes.
Cool. So obviously that get segmented value passes the current visitor to see what segment they are, and then to figure out what piece of content to show based on that.
Yeah, we get we query the database again. The Mongo queries are all generated by the package in the backend, so that we can query it based on the user's details and whatever the segment is built on. Right now, the segment is compiled down to a Mongo query when you run it, and then that query is fired on the database. So we'll figure out, the database will apply whether it's true or not when the user is in the segment or not. So from that, we can pull the right data out of the property itself, and then return that just like get property value would. So you get the same data back, as you would here, and you'd call it the same way.
Okay, that's nice.
All the actual content picking and selection is done by the package, so the developers will have a very familiar interface with it.
Yeah. Okay. So where you're passing in an object type there of string, say my property editor, I don't know, it's a content picker and returns an I publish content, or I've built some other one and it's got some custom model that can be used as a property converter.
Yeah.
Does Footprint support this?
Yes.
Awesome.
we use Umbraco to figure out if there is an applicable content converter.
Yep.
Value converter, and then we use that, so it will run the same thing.
Brilliant. That's really, really nice. So yeah, at the minute I can't see any use case where I wouldn't want to use this so far. Oh, this is really, really impressive work, guys. So briefly, you mentioned Andy Butland. Was there have you had any discussions with Andy in terms of trying to get some kind of collaboration going, in terms of discussing or swapping ideas in terms of different approaches?
We ourselves haven't, but Adam, the CTO of Novacell,
Yep.
That was also at the presentation at Code Garden, have been talking to Andy. They've been having some Skype calls and bouncing ideas back and forth. So we've had some talks with him. Adam couldn't be here today because he had an appointment he couldn't miss.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, no, it would have been interesting to see if there was anything that was suggested that you guys applied or done from maybe those discussions.
I think they found out that the packages, even though they are solving the same problem,
Yep.
they are still very different. And I think maybe Footprint is a little more advanced.
Yep,
But
I would definitely agree.
The two packagers are trying to accomplish pretty much the same goal, but in different ways.
Yeah.
So where this one is, we really try to cater to the content editors, because the content editors in the end are the ones that we want to use this.
Yeah, exactly. This is who you hand it over to the clients, and they're the ones that are going to have to be dealing with this day in, day out.
Developers are the ones that can set it up, but when they want to make a new campaign, you can't really get a developer in on it. That it'd be much easier if the marketing people that sits. Well, the content editors can just do it themselves.
Yeah.
So we wanted to be as intuitive as possible. That's why we have the help text here, and we try to make it so that you can every line, every criteria from one end to the other, and say this contains that. Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah, no. I was going to say it's very easy to read, and with the kind of the live visualization that you're querying the MongoDB in terms of the percentage, it's kind of very useful in terms of getting a quick overview. Is this going to work or not, basically?
Yeah.
No, this is really nice. I'm just trying to see if we've got any questions at the minute. But is there anything else that we've kind of not touched on, really, or that you would kind of like to demo off, really, I suppose?
Well, we've been looking into what we can actually track with the package, and based on the way it's set up right now, we can pretty much track everything. Right now, it dumps it all into MongoDB. That is unfortunately a requirement right now in the beta for it.
Yep.
We're working on that. So yeah, you can pump any data source into it as long as you know the visitor ID. Then you can feed in data from shop systems, CRM, anything really. And we've also talked briefly about open source at Code Garden. Right now, we've had some people asking, but the project's format right now isn't really ready for a formal open source release.
Okay.
As right now, it's all built from inside the test website that we had during the thesis.
Yep.
So it's built in here and published from there. But the source code definitely isn't a secret. So if anybody is up for the task of anything, or want to bounce some ideas back and forth, definitely get in contact and we'll see what we can do.
No, that's fantastic. So I presume the way you're talking there that the goal is to make this open source at a later date.
Yeah.
The goal is to make it open source, yeah.
Fantastic.
So people can build on it, continue developing on it. In the future, we're gonna do some other stuff for the project. Like we really want to add a segment preview, so you can preview a site with, let's say you want to test the segment out.
Okay, so when you're on a piece of content, you want to hit the preview button, and I want to be this particular type of user, or I've hit this type of segment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. We want to hook into the preview and say you want to have these segments set, and then see how the page is looking, so you can actually see what the page will look for.
That's a very nice feature. Hopefully, we'll get to see that at some point in the future.
Yeah. We also have recipes involved.
Recipes.
Recipes.
Okay, what would be a recipe example?
That's Adam's idea.
That's the idea marker, but
it's a nice idea.
It's an idea basically that you can build segments, and then we'd have some sort of community area in here where you can say, I've built this crazy segment.
So kind of like a sharing kind of collaboration.
Share the segment at a click of a few buttons, and then others could browse the segments you've built or properties or whatever.
Yeah, like a community repository of
Yeah.
So I suppose the recipe probably comes from the if this then that kind of website.
Yep. Yeah, we've definitely looked at that. And then in the future, Novacell will be making ready-made integrations for the system to make it more advanced, but without cutting into the core as it is right now, such as automate complete MailChimp e-commerce solutions, integrations so that you can hook into it.
So more kind of one-click solutions in terms of integrating with another provider.
Yeah, but it will never. The package will be as it is, completely open source.
Yep.
At some point, and we will not make anything in those pre-made packages that can't be made by developers themselves. So it's really just pre-made packages to ease up the development.
Yeah, that's still really useful though in terms of speeding up development time and an approach that's been tried and tested and kind of bulletproof, so to speak. That's really, really nice. So this package is already out on Umbraco, yes?
It's out on Umbraco.
So you mentioned it's a beta, yes?
It's a beta right now, yeah.
Is that just because of the requirement of Mongo, or is it because there's some bits you still haven't finished that you would like to finish?
Well, there are a few loose ends here and there.
Yep.
Some things we would like to implement, like the segment preview before we make a real release.
Okay.
We want to get the footprint things out of the MongoDB, which we doesn't have right now. For example, right now it requires a MongoDB, and you can't use an SQL compact edition. You have to use an MS SQL server for it. Because we use some stored procedures, but we're working with the Umbraco team on that.
Okay, yeah, that's that was the next thing I was gonna touch on. This is probably very interesting for maybe a core contribution, or how has the Umbraco kind of core team approached you guys in terms and said, look, this is a very interesting approach. We want this back into the core.
Well,
you're looking at each other as to say, are we allowed to say anything?
Well, during the development, we've had meetings and talks with Umbraco during it, from the beginning to the end.
Yep.
And we've been in talk about the possibility of getting this package into the core. So we will get some of the features in the core, like property wrapping, I think they talk about, and the whole segment builder idea kind of stuff. So they'll see what we can do to take some of the package and get it into the core in the future.
That's awesome to hear, because it does seem very core-worthy in terms of what you've shown today. It's the way that websites are going, being more personalized and more specific to users. So
a bit of the beef with that right now is really the MongoDB. Because
I was going to say that's probably the big kind of caveat, probably, is Mongo.
You don't want to say that users have to have a MongoDB and MS SQL. So we're working on those requirements right now and looking into making the Mongo an optional addition for it.
Cool. In terms of timeline for trying to make this open source, are you intending to make it open source before you release, or the only way I'm asking is that can people help you get this towards the finish line a lot quicker if you make it open source?
We've talked about that, and right now we don't know when we'll go open source. It might be when we release it, or it might be a bit before. But as we said, we're very keen on if other people want to contribute to it.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do. See how we can work together and get this moving faster.
Yeah.
So we're definitely not keeping the source code to ourselves right now.
No. That's not the point I was trying to make. It was more in terms of, obviously open source is great for collaboration, and I'm sure there would be a ton of people willing to offer their hours of development to kind of help get this more polished and ready for, like you say, a 1.0 release.
Yeah, a lot of people also came up to us after the presentation at Code Garden and asked when we would open source it so they could help out.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's great, yeah.
No, that's really, really good. Before we wrap up, I'm just going to double check we've got no more questions or anything like that. But is there anything else you want to kind of finally add?
Well, yeah, we want to tell people to use the package, because even though the beta tag might be frightening right now, it's only really there because of the Mongo dependency and minor issues. It really works right now.
Mm-hmm.
For how we tested it.
Yep.
So we really like people to give it a spin, test it out, and then get back with feedback on bugs you encounter, or ideas you have, or features, or whether you want to collaborate and do something with it.
No, that's fantastic. You talking about MongoDB requirements, is there any suggestions in terms of cloud providers? I'm just looking at your Umbraco. Is there kind of like a go-to provider that's easy to set up and use that you guys maybe are using?
We use one called Mongo HQ.
Yeah.
I think it's called Compose now, Compose.io or something.
We right now we use a free.
Didn't we write anything about that? No.
We use a free cloud-based MongoDB.
Exactly. If other people can get like a free tier in terms of getting it set up and testing this out, then maybe that's worth making a recommendation in terms of what kind of cloud-based providers that we can use.
Yeah, it's called Compose now. Okay.
Cool. I'll be setting an up account this afternoon.
That's great.
Great.
Thanks so much, guys, for taking the time to chat to me today. It's been a fantastic talk. I suppose we'll see you maybe at Code Garden or any other kind of Umbraco event. But I look forward to seeing the 1.0 release very soon.
Yeah.
No pressure.
See about that.
Yeah, no pressure. Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.